Hi, this is Vishy Datsatan, your host for Essence in Fitness video series. At 6:55 on a cold Wednesday morning, a client we call Sabrina sat across from me for consultation. She had heard from her friends that my approach was uncommon. She was a little bit nervous. Her bright eyes held years of experience and painful failures. I started the session with my usual question. What can I do for you, Sabrina? She absent-mindedly pulled her sweatshirt to cover her belly. She told me she wanted to lose around 80 pounds. Sabrina, like most of my first-time clients, seemed to have a mental scenario how the consultation would go. She was ready to talk about the usual and the common, the diets she has been on, the exercises she had done. She was ready to talk about the past with some vague ideas of the future. So I asked Sabrina to tell me about herself. She began by saying, "I'm an engineer." I interrupted her. "That is your profession, Sabrina. Tell me about yourself." "I am married and I have two." I interrupted her again. "Those are your relationships, Sabrina. Tell me about yourself." She paused this time. That is what I was looking for, a mental and emotional space she could use to think, to reflect, and to organize, a space that separated her past from the future. Sabrina needed this space more than anything else. "I like photography," she began. I interrupted her again. "Those are the things you like, the things you do, your hobbies. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about Sabrina, not your job, your relationships, or your hobbies." She paused, this time for about a minute. Finally, she shook her head and said, "I don't really know much about myself." I waited. Sabrina blinked a tear away and finished, "I only know that I don't like myself." And that was the key. That was the invisible force in Sabrina's visible challenges. I asked Sabrina what I'm asking you. If you don't even know yourself, how could you possibly like or dislike yourself? If there's a confusion between who you really are, your job, your relationships, and the things you do, can you really make a change without considering these forces, these invisible forces in your life? Sabrina shook her head. I asked Sabrina what she wanted to do. She looked at me, blinking another tear away. She asks me her first question. "I really don't like where I am. I'm tired of this. What am I missing?" With that question, Sabrina invited me to be her companion in a part of her journey that she has been on for a long time. A journey that was about to take an unexpected turn. I'm really into results and actionable items. The first actionable item for Sabrina was to pause her frantic reactive activities, to create the mental and emotional space she needed to reflect on the past, organize her thoughts in the present, before she took actions to change them. In another video, I'll cover the details of this process. Sabrina needed to learn the basis of the 3 lessons you saw in the last video from the ship Titanic and Lance Armstrong's career, 100 years apart, seemingly unrelated, and yet both sunk based on the invisible forces that influenced them and not the visible forces they reacted to. Sabrina also needed to see tangible results for the changes she was making. I asked Sabrina, "Tell me, what do you think the cause of your weight gain is?" Sabrina told me she craved sweets, and once she started, she couldn't stop. After I found out more about her, I told her, "Don't worry about the cravings and sweets." She looked at me like I've lost my mind. I have seen that same look many times over the years. I gave Sabrina 3 recommendations based on her needs. 30 days later, she wrote to me that she no longer craved sweets at all, and her extra weight began to drop fast. When she saw me after the update, her bright eyes were full of joy. She couldn't keep still with excitement. What were my 3 recommendations? Number 1, read a book on writing, not on diet nor exercise, on writing. Number 2, begin writing and keeping a journal with very specific instructions. Number 3, I asked her to research complex carbohydrates. In the next video, I'll go over why these recommendations worked for Sabrina and more details about them. For now, I want to help you to create something that has many names. Let's call it the pause, a mental and emotional space, a structure that prevents the past from running into the future and making the future just another version of the past. To enter this space, imagine you're sitting across someone you trust at 6:55 a.m. on a Wednesday morning and tell them about yourself. To help you get started with this process, focus on the word strength. Describe what you know about the word strength. In the next video, I ask you to compare the impact of invisible part of a strength and visible part of the word strength. Remember that you are the most invisible and the most influential part of your experience. The kind of person you wish to be depends on what you know about yourself. Learn to own this magic time between the past and the future and begin the process of getting to know yourself better. This is the most basic part of expanding of your awareness to solve problems, to see the invisible and visible dynamic forces that influence so much of your life.